Today our motion is the throwing of a football. I'm Greg, filming is Trevor, and we're talking about the mechanics and the throwing motion of a football being thrown. The motions of the plane would probably be frontal, since you're in a frontal plane motion, you're facing forward. There's transverse to it as well, because you have to use your obliques and turn your hips, as well as moving your legs. Alright, so next we're going to be talking about the mechanics of a football throw. First we're going to just do it from the ground up. So I'm going to this is what quarterbacks do when they warm up, collegiate, football, high school, etc. level. You warm up because you want to engage your body or tell your body that you want to start from the hips. So usually you have your left foot forward. Some people like to have your right foot back, but it doesn't matter. So first you're in a neutral position, you have your hand grip, so that I talked about earlier. And all it is just turning, so you're engaging your core in your transverse movement plane. You're going to turn this way, which helps get angular rotation, so it helps a lot of movement speed, velocity speed to throw the ball. So you're going to turn, you're going to lift your shoulders up, and then release. And quarterbacks do this just to warm up their core strength and their transverse strength. From the stand-up phase now, since we've done from the ground, warm up your hips, now you do from the standing phase, and you'll see quarterbacks usually on the games after they've already warmed up, like on the sidelines, they'll have a camera on them, and they'll just work on flicking. So you'll just do this repeatedly at a time. So if you look at my feet, go over this way, you can see them. You kind of rock back and forth, so it's a back and forward motion. Almost every athletic sport has that motion. You have tennis. I know baseball, you want to load back and hit it. Football is the same way, so you want to load this back leg and forward. And then what helps the whole overall mechanics is you may want to make sure this hand turns this way. You're here, and you want to throw. Keeping your elbow up and then turning the whole time. So transverse to load leg, and then release is more complicated. I'm not going to go into that. But your release is just out here, forward. And this flick finger helps with spin and spiral. Alright, so now we're going to do the overall movement. So there'll be everything that I've talked about before. So if you're lower, if you're mid, and then you have the hands and the arm movement. So I'll just do it all in one motion for you, and then we'll show you the proper mechanics and the improper mechanics of a football. So first, it's just, I'm going to start from like a normal position. I'm loading my legs. Alright, so next we're going to talk about the breakdown of the movement. So I'll go through pretty much like each phase like I did earlier, but just a little bit more inclined, a little bit more muscles involved, etc. So first, the most proper mechanics you'd want to have is a leg load. So you see my right foot's up, and you see that my calf is flexed, but I don't feel like it is. That means that you're properly loaded. You usually have your toe, so it's a heel-toe motion. So you're planted, so you're like in a plantar flexion kind of a deal. And you're in a natural position. I'll say I'm under the center. So this will be a natural leg load. So my right quads are legged and ready to go. If I need to throw it quickly, I can release it. So here, I'm back. So now I'm back. Next proper step would probably take another one. So then I'm loaded. I have a nice base in front of me, and I'm already turned. So my transverse motion and abs have already been flexed. So this helps angular rotation. So in physics, you want to have a lot of speed going this way, forward and in a circle. Just like in tennis, you want to make sure that you're in a perfect circle when you're throwing or hitting a ball. So you want to be turned, and then the next motion here would be then the release. So it's lead load, my elbow's up, I'm here, my palm is facing where I want to throw the ball, and I release. And when you want to release, triceps, having nice strong triceps will help keep this elbow up into elbow flexion, and then your extensor muscles, if they're nice and relaxed and loose, will get a flick. And that'll help the natural spin of the ball so it finishes the throw pretty much. Alright, so next we're going to be talking about the proper and improper throwing motion. I'm going to do the good one first, so then you can see the bad one, so you make relations to that. So the first one I'm doing is a proper throwing motion. So I'm going to be in a loaded position here, turning. Alright, so next we're going to talk about the improper throwing motion. So just earlier I threw a proper throwing motion, so now this one's going to be an improper throwing motion. I'm just going to go ahead and do it for you real quickly. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is the breakdown of the improper throw that I just did and the proper. So the first one, the improper throwing motion, I'll go through it very quickly. I started into a load position, so my right hand is at the bottom of the ball, and my left hand is the guiding hand for the snap or the incoming ball. So my leg is already loaded for the worst case scenario, so I can throw a decent ball. So I'm here, I'm loaded, I'm turned, I'm ready to load again, I'm turning, and then I released. And when I released high, and then a flip. And then a bad improper throwing motion was I had no base, so I had no leg drive. So if a nose tackle were to drive the center back into my lap, there's no way I could throw the ball effectively or at a high percentage to make the pass. So already at a disadvantage. I'm snapping, I have no leg drive, and I release the ball off my back foot. So this throw would probably be something of if I was in a hurry to throw it. So it'd be here, and I released way low, and I went that way across my body. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is the breakdown of the improper throws of usual athletes. We'll start from the ground to the top. So usually from a starting position, usually amateurs would do this, maybe occasional pros, college players. They don't have the right base to start off with. So my base from this angle is just too narrow. From an athlete standpoint, you can't do much here. So if someone were to push me this way, I can't control it. And then when I do control it, I don't have enough core strength to support myself. That's the next thing. So the next phase, that's the first improper motion. The next improper motion is no turn. So how can I throw a ball if I have no turn, right? That means the angular rotation or momentum I have is almost to none. So if I don't turn, I'm just throwing from here. From a standpoint of a professional quarterback or a high-level college quarterback, they would have turned. So now I'm using all my core strength. This actually indirectly helps with the back load leg, and then it also helps for speed for the whip, for a longer throw and higher height. So that's the second thing, I just didn't turn. And then the third thing was an improper leg load. I didn't load from the back to the forward, I just loaded from the back and threw away from my body. So if I'm throwing, this usually a lot of amateur quarterbacks or quarterbacks who haven't been taught properly, they'll just throw off their back leg. Instead of deliver everything here, down. They would just throw it right where my hip is aimed, right at you, this way. Now you can't throw that ball correctly at all. So I'll go over it real quickly one more time. So I had a narrow base. Second step, I did not have a turn. And the third phase is it didn't have a proper load to release phase.